Have you ever noticed that the funniest person in The Big Bang Theory almost never tells a joke? That's what makes Sheldon Cooper so different from every other sitcom character. While everyone else is trying to be entertaining, Sheldon genuinely believes he's the smartest person in every room, and somehow, that's exactly why we can't stop laughing. What's brilliant is that the writers never force the comedy. Instead, they let Sheldon's personality create complete chaos. A normal person would shrug off a disagreement over dinner, but Sheldon can turn a simple meal into a debate about world history. Someone else would move on after an awkward conversation, but Sheldon treats every tiny inconvenience like it's a scientific crisis that absolutely must be solved. One of the funniest moments comes when Sheldon decides that comedy itself can be explained with science. Instead of asking why people laugh, he believes there must be a logical formula that can make anyone laugh on command. It sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly how his mind works. To Sheldon, humor isn't emotional. It's just another problem waiting for the correct equation. And here's why that joke works so well. The audience isn't laughing because Sheldon is trying to be funny. They're laughing because he has no idea how absurd his confidence sounds. That's a huge difference, and it's one of the reasons his character has aged so well. But then the episode quietly reminds us that Sheldon isn't as emotionless as he pretends to be. After Amy rejects him, he repeatedly insists that he's completely fine. He claims he's thinking logically, staying calm, and moving on with his life. The problem: the harder he tries to prove it, the more emotional he becomes. Before long, he's practically shouting at everyone in the room, accidentally proving the exact opposite of what he wanted. That's the genius of the writing. Instead of telling us Sheldon has feelings, the show lets his own behavior reveal the truth. His words say one thing, but his actions say something completely different, and that's where both the comedy and the character development come together. And honestly, this is where The Big Bang Theory separates itself from so many sitcoms. The laughs don't come from random jokes. They come from characters staying completely true to who they are, and Sheldon is the perfect example of that. But the funniest part isn't his intelligence, it's what happens when that intelligence collides with the real world. But the funniest part isn't his intelligence, it's what happens when that intelligence collides with real life. Because in Sheldon's world, everything has rules. Friendship has rules. Food has rules. Even sitting on a couch has rules. And the moment reality doesn't follow those rules, Sheldon doesn't adapt, he fights it like it's a scientific error in the universe. That's why small things in this show always turn into massive situations. A dinner plan becomes a debate. A simple seating choice becomes a territorial war. And something as basic as sharing space turns into a full emotional breakdown, without Sheldon even realizing why everyone else is frustrated. But here's the twist that makes his character legendary. Under all that arrogance, Sheldon is actually one of the most emotionally confused people in the entire group. He doesn't ignore emotions because he doesn't have them, he ignores them because he doesn't understand them. And that creates this constant gap between what he says and what he actually feels. That's why characters like Leonard, Penny, and Amy are so important. They don't just react to Sheldon, they translate the real world for him. Leonard tries to reason with him. Penny brings pure common sense. And Amy slowly becomes the only person who can actually decode what Sheldon is feeling, even when he himself doesn't know it. And that's where Jim Parsons completely elevates the role. The timing, the pauses, the sudden outbursts, everything feels so precise that you forget it's acting. Sheldon doesn't feel like a sitcom character. He feels like a real person trapped between genius and complete social confusion. In the end, that's why The Big Bang Theory worked for so many years. It wasn't about science jokes or nerd culture references. It was about a character who was brilliant enough to understand the universe but not simple enough to understand people. And that contrast is what makes Sheldon Cooper not just funny, but unforgettable.